This is the new LEGO Star Wars Pirate Snub Fighter set. A set that many in the community aren't too happy with, but one that I've been incredibly excited for. As soon as I saw the Pirate Snub Fighter in action in Mando Season 3, I instantly fell in love with it, and then as soon as these set pictures came out, it solidified my idea that I needed a few of these and an entire fleet. But before I move on to an entire fleet of Snub Fighters, let's just cover this one that we have before us. And with this Snub Fighter that I already have, we're going to take one more and we're going to combine them into the ultimate Heavy Snub Fighter. I want the plans and the final design of this alternate build to be as simple as the pirates themselves would make it. So with them not being the smartest in the world, if they tried to manufacture a new kind of starfighter, I feel like they would have a very simple thought process in how they would do that. I think they would look at the one Snub Fighter that they already have a few of in their fleet. They would think, okay, this does everything that we want. What if I just added more onto it? Just more everything. Now, what does this more really mean? Well, it's exactly what it is, just more. The pirates would probably just add on more cannons. They would add on more armor plating. They would add on more engines. They wouldn't really have a design process other than just adding on what they already like. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to rip open this second copy and we're going to use those pieces to just add a lot more onto this Pirate Snub Fighter. Here we are after quite a bit of building and I have a final product that I'm incredibly happy with. But I'm not too sure if I succeeded at the original idea. The plan was to make this alternate build look very piratey and look not too intelligently put together. But I think my final build might be a little too particularly designed and put together for pirates to have made it. But I suppose I'll just stop talking about it and I'll let you guys be the judge. So without further ado, we have the new Heavy Pirate Snub Fighter. Outfitted with even more armor plating, more engines, and more weapons. Let's go ahead and get a closer look at this Snub Fighter, starting up at the front. So up front, this part of the ship should look very familiar to the original Snub Fighter because it's designed almost identical. Now there are quite a few differences, but the overall design remains the same, with these larger wedge plates towards the back angling towards the front, with these smaller ones on the very front here. But more specifically on the front end, we can go ahead and start down the middle, and you can see we have some more armor plating represented by another one of these stickers here. And then just in between the armor plating and the wings here, we have the main cannons for this ship, and they're in the exact same spot as the original cannons. They're just heavier versions so they can dish out a little bit more damage. But then from there, we can move out from the main cannons and check out a little bit of this greebling that I worked in with some of these tiles and miscellaneous pieces on the side here. And lastly, if we flip over the front end, you can see I actually removed the stud shooters from the original set. Now typically I do try and retain stud shooters and spring-loaded shooters as that standard trademark LEGO play feature, but for this build I just decided not to. I was already fine with the weapons that I had built on here, so I kinda saw the stud shooters as unnecessary, so I decided to pull them off. But if you'd like to put them back on, you can simply take off this 2x3 tile, and then you can simply just reattach the stud shooter build from the original set, no problem. Flipping the ship back around though, we can start moving further down the body, where we have a little bit of greebling and some smooth tiles on the side here, but most importantly, we have the cockpit. And if we open this up and we get our pirate pilot out of there, you can see that the inside is almost unchanged from the original set. The only addition in the cockpit is an extra control panel piece to accommodate all the new parts and features in the back of the ship. And just like the original set, if I lift up on this front panel, we still have that storage container for the pirate's blaster pistols. You can fit 2 blasters in there just snug, and then you can put this panel right back on top and fold down your cockpit and you're ready to go. And that pretty much covers the entire cockpit. I'm gonna go ahead and open it back up and get my pilot back inside so somebody's actually flying this ship, and then we can move further down the main fuselage of the craft towards the rear side. And the back side is obviously where the majority of the building and the pieces for this alternate build went. But in order to cover the entire backside, we're gonna go ahead and start right behind the cockpit, going down the spine of the main fuselage of the ship. And down the main fuselage here, we have a lot of smooth tiles with almost no studs showing and a little bit of color in here with that yellow on either side. And then I managed to retain that thermal detonator container, and I also managed to work in another one in the rear. Now I originally wanted to work in some sort of rear interior space or a rear gunner seat like a patron had suggested, but I unfortunately just couldn't make it work and I didn't have any leftover pieces to add a blaster on the backside either. But luckily we're still able to retain a play feature in there, and now we can store twice as many thermal detonators in here. But getting this top lid back on is the same as the original set with just one jumper piece at the back there. And we can slide that right in and it fits just perfectly in between all those plates there. But I'm going to go ahead and put that lid back on, and then we can move down the sides of the main fuselage and check out these wings here. And on either side of the ship you can see we have more armor plating and some more greebling throughout, with this large slope piece that leads into this large fin on top of the wings. And then this fin angles towards the front and points us towards the engine pods on either end of the ship. But before we check out the engine pods, let's go ahead and finish up on the wings here. But as said, we have plenty of ingot and tile pieces to represent a little bit of greebling and armor plating here. And then if I remove this top fin, we can get a better look at the greebling that's hiding underneath it. And here with that fin removed, you can get a better look at all that. We just have one little grill piece in there with a few miscellaneous pieces mixed throughout,
with one red translucent tile in there as well. And with this top fin back on, before we move on to the engine pods, I forgot to talk about this little tiny bit of greebling here. Now this was originally just a little bit of greebling, but after looking at it and playing with this ship for a while, I've decided that these are some sort of special ammunition launchers. So maybe this thing can shoot flares to prevent any sort of missile lock-on, or maybe it can shoot tracking beacons onto any targets that they're pursuing. Or maybe, if you really want to, these can just be some very small light blasters towards the back of the ship. But now from there, we can finally follow these fins towards these engine pods on the end here, and believe it or not, this is my favorite part of the ship. And that's because these little engine pods were actually the first things that I built and assembled for this entire alternate build. And I decided that I liked these so much that no matter what, we were going to keep them together and I was going to form this alternate build around these engine units. But it's just a neat little engine build. We of course have some extra cannons on the very end there, just right in front of that stickered fin on the back. And then we have the engine units themselves stacked top and bottom with plenty of rounded pieces to give them a nice cylindrical look with the exhaust at the backside here. And putting these engines back on their brackets and flipping it around, this ship has a really clean look with all 6 engine exhausts pointed back at you. And I gotta say, this is one of my favorite ways to look at the ship. On top of all 6 engines, you have those nice thin fins sticking out of either side with a little bit of that yellow peeking out here or there. But more specifically on the backside, besides just those yellow markings, we have the 2 final engines for this Snub Fighter. And these are almost in the exact same spot from the original set. I believe they're just a few studs higher up, so it does look slightly modified as if the pirates had to change around a few of the internals to accommodate the new parts. But besides those 2 engines and the yellow markings, the only other thing on the backside is this back panel with a little bit of detail and some armor plating. But then besides this, that pretty much covers the entire backside of the ship, so we can go ahead and reattach that panel, and we've pretty much covered the entire Heavy Snub Fighter. I'm still undecided on whether or not I followed the original idea of making this ship look very piratey, as if the pirates themselves have made it, but I suppose I'll just let you guys be the judge and we'll see down in the comments below. But even if I didn't succeed at that original prompt, I did succeed at making a really good alternate build, and I'd like to think that this is probably the best starfighter that I've ever made. As always, I have PDF building instructions for this alternate build available on my Patreon page right now, with a video version coming to YouTube in a little under 2 weeks. As always, if you have any suggestions for any alternate builds or mods that you'd like me to try in the future, especially with these new sets that just came out, let me know down below as well. And if you still need to pick up 1 or 2 copies of this Pirate Snub Fighter, consider doing so through my affiliate link in the description down below. Other than that, I'll see you guys next time. Peace, fellas.